Hello, this is a video to help you form a quadratic equation given the roots. Now, before we tell you how to do that, let's just look at this particular quadratic equation that you're asked to solve. So you're asked to solve x squared plus 3x minus 4, and you would do that by either using the quadratic formula or the minus b formula as it's sometimes known, or you might solve it by factorizing and then solving your factors. So if we factor it, you're going to get x plus 4 and x minus 1, and so that would be equal to 0. They're your factors, x plus 4 and x minus 1. And then you'd say x plus 4 is equal to 0, therefore x is equal to negative 4, or x equals plus 1. So that's your solution. You solve that. These are called the roots. So minus 4 and plus 1 are roots. And x plus 4 and x minus 1, that there is a factor. So they're the factors. So if I give you the roots, you should be able to work backwards to work out what an equation is, what the quadratic equation is. So let's have a look at an example. So we're going to say, the question might be, can you form a quadratic equation given the roots x equals 2 and x equals minus 5? So the way you do that is you say, well, okay, I'm going to write down that the roots are equal to x equals 2 and x equals negative 5. I can then create the factor out of that. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, which is going to give me x minus 2 is equal to 0. And I'm going to add 5 to both sides to get rid of this on this side. X plus 5 is equal to 0. So they're my factors. I now multiply these two factors together. X minus 2 multiplied by x plus 5. X by x gives me x squared, that's that one, and x by plus 5 gives me 5x. Negative 2 by x gives me negative 2x, and negative 2 by plus 5 gives me negative 10. Add those all together, I'm going to get x squared plus 3x, because I add the x's together, minus 10. And that's it. And that's equal to 0. That is a quadratic equation that I have solved, that I have formed from these roots. I've worked backwards. You gave me the roots, I gave you the quadratic equation. Let's have a look at another example. Form a quadratic equation given the roots x equals 4 and x equals 0. So work your way back up to give myself a quadratic equation. So I write down roots x equals 4, x equals 0. I turn them into factors, x minus 4 equals 0, and x is equal to 0. I mean, I could go x minus 0 is equal to 0, because, bring the 0 across, but it's still equal to 0, so it's just x equals 0. And then I multiply these two factors. That's a factor and that's a factor. Multiply them together, I get x squared minus 4x is equal to 0. Okay, now it's your turn. There are here forming a quadratic equation if you're given the roots 5, 7 and 3, negative 2. So you can see the start here. So see if you can multiply these out to get the quadratic equation. Press pause in the video and have a go when you're done and see if you get it right. Okay, there's the solution to these two. I hope you got them right. Let's move on to the next part. Okay, there's another method. So the question will still be the same, form a quadratic equation given the roots, say 6 and 8. Now this way is more direct. And what the solution is, x squared minus the sum of these roots. So the sum means you add up the roots. So you're going to add up 6 and 8 and plus the product of the roots. So you're going to get x squared minus the sum, which is 6 plus 8, x, plus the product, which is 6 multiplied by 8, and that's all equal to 0. So my quadratic equation is x squared minus 14x plus 48 is equal to 0. You could have done it the other way, the way we did earlier on. You could have said roots, factors, and multiplied them all out. This is quite a quick way to do it. Let's have a look at another example. Form a quadratic equation with the roots 3 and 0. So I'm going to get x squared minus the sum of the roots. I'm just going to write down sum, x, plus the product of the roots, and that's equal to 0. So I'm going to get x squared minus, well, the sum is equal to 3 plus 0. That's minus 3x. And then I'm going to get the product. Well, 3 times 0, wow, that's, well, 3 times 0 is equal to 0, and that's equal to 0. We'll clean it up now. X squared minus 3x plus 0, done, is equal to 0. So that's this equation here. You've formed a quadratic equation with these roots here. Okay, press pause in the video and have a go at forming a quadratic equation. Well, there'll be two of them for question 1 and question 2. Press pause and press play when you're ready to see if you got the right answer. And use this new method, the sum of the roots, the product of the roots. Use that method. Okay, here's the first one. X squared minus the sum. So 4, minus 3. That's the sum of them. And then by the product, 4 times minus 3, so 4x squared minus, and there's a 4 minus 3 is equal to 1, so there's a 1 inside the bracket, x minus 12. Clean it up, x squared minus x minus 12. Press pause, have a go with the second one. Okay, there's the second, x squared minus the sum of x, minus the sum multiplied by x plus this product, which is minus 2 by 5. X squared, that's going to give me minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0. So there's the two equations. Okay, here's a question from the book, and it says the roots of a quadratic equation, x squared plus px plus q is equal to 0, are 3 and negative 2. So that's the important bit. We know what the roots are. And from that, we know that we can work backwards to work out what this quadratic equation should be. But the first thing it says is find the sum of the roots. Well, the sum of the roots is going to be just 3 minus 2, and that's equal to 1. So that's the first part. B, the product of the roots. Well, the product of the roots is 3 times negative 2, negative 6. That's B. Hence, find a quadratic equation that has roots 3 and 2. So C, well, it's equal to x squared minus the sum of the roots, which is 1x, plus the product of the roots, which is minus 6, and that's equal to 0. I'm going to clean this up because I don't want a plus minus. X squared minus x minus 6 is equal to 0. That's part C. Now, using the equation in C, which is this one, find the value for P and the value for Q. Well, it told us at the start that the quadratic equation was x squared plus px plus q. So I'll write this down below maybe in pink. X squared plus px and plus q is equal to 0. So I can see that q is equal to minus 6 and p is equal to, what's the number before this x? It's a negative 1. So p is equal to negative 1, p is equal to negative 1, and the q is equal to negative 6. So the value for p is equal to negative 1 and q is equal to negative 6. Okay, so now it's your turn, which I often do at this stage. I ask you to do one now yourselves. It's the same question as above, really. What's done is I've changed the numbers up here, 3 and negative 2, to 7 and negative 5. So will you do that? Press pause, have a go with these A, B, C, and D, and then press play when you're ready to start and see if you got the right answer. Okay, there's the solution here. And we have, well, A, B, C, and D, and P is equal to negative 2, and Q is equal to negative 35, because you just read it off these. There's a PX, that's minus 2, and Q is equal to minus 35. Okay, I hope that helped. Thank you.